Hi everyone, this is Korosh Erfani, and we are going to discuss about a new trend of theories in which it's a matter of Western civilization decline. Many people start to believe that there is something obvious, visible, which is the decreasing trend of the Western civilizations. So they are talking about the Western countries, European countries, and it includes the term civilization includes economy, politics, culture, history, and everything. So why such a trend is increasing and why it's expanding effectively? There are many reasons, but in this presentation, I am going to look at the subject from a sociological point of view. And in order to do so, I would like to underline the fact that we recognize society through something that is essential to it, something that is substantial to the term or the concept of society, which is social interactions. We know that social interaction is the core of society, right? It's something that we cannot really neglect if we are talking about human beings, individuals, societies, cultures, countries, people, every time we are using one of these terms, implicitly or explicitly, we are referring to social interactions. So I think what is interesting right now is to see that the Western civilization start to have a problem or an issue with society in general, which means that the decline of the Western civilization is not really something related to the hostile countries or superpowers or the threat of the nuclear powers, for example. But more than that, the Western civilization is threatened by society, which means that the dominant system of this civilization, which is capitalism, or more concretely, as I use this term in my videos, Abrahamic civilization, Abrahamic capitalism, is a system in which it starts to have a serious problem with society, which means that right now society, as I am going to explain it, became somehow the archenemy of the capitalism, which is very interesting, and maybe for the first time it's happening in the history, but it's extremely important. So they know that through social interactions, people start to know each other and to get some kind of approach to each other, and it creates effectively social coherence, social solidarity. The people start to cooperate with each other, and from that we have effectively a collective consciousness, right? Collective consciousness is this collective mind in which the people are aware about the long-term interest of themselves as a collective, as a group, right, as an entity. So these kind of consciousness or social awareness is something that the system doesn't like really. Why? Because the system wants to have the control of the people, and when the people are equipped with something that pushes back the control system, of course those who are in power don't like that. So that's why they try to reduce as much as possible social interactions within society in such a way that they can weaken as much as possible the social coherence, the social solidarity, and of course, empty what we call this collective awareness. In order to do so, they are using technology, right? They are using the different social platforms, and they call that social so that we believe that interacting with the devices, computers, and algorithm is a social activity, which is not, absolutely not. But they are presented in order to deceive us, right? Because for thousands and thousands of years, we have been using this term for interacting between the people in a normal and natural way. Talking, communicating, and I am talking about the communication by all the means that we usually use, like the face-to-face communication, verbal communication, non-verbal communication, using emotions, feelings, and everything. So we don't have that with the social media, right? And of course, what they want to do is dehumanizing as much as possible our social relationships, right? And by dehumanizing, I mean removing the human element from this interaction and replacing it with something non-human, unhuman, like technology, like devices, like algorithm programs. And they know that if they can effectively, at a given moment, become our interlocutor, right? If we start to have a device or a program or an algorithm as our conversational partner, for example, we start to believe that this is it. This is the social relationship. This is the social life. And this is the case of the new generations, right? These generations don't have any memory about the traditional, classic, and conventional forms of social relationships, right? And that's why they think that's the life, that's how the life is organized, which is not really the case, historically speaking, but they don't have any other pattern or model in their mind, the young people. So what's the idea? The idea is how we can isolate people thanks to a huge reduction of the amount of social interactions or communications between the real human beings. By reducing it, how we can isolate them, how we can alienate them from each other, and then once they are isolated, how we can control them, how we can shape their mind, how we can impact their behavioral patterns. This is what they are doing. Instead of social solidarity or social correlation, for example, they are creating social isolation. They are creating social atomization, right? The people who are in a bulk but not related, right? There is no interrelation between the people, millions and millions of people living, side by side. So that's the idea. Once the people are completely isolated and manipulated, they can do whatever they want, right? So that's why the idea is that how we can start to eliminate the unfavorable part of the society. And I am talking about unfavorable for the system, right? For the dominant system. The system doesn't want the people who are generating cost for it and not generating any wealth for the whole system, for the economic system, or for even the social system. So we are talking about those who are vulnerable, right? The weakest parts of the population. For example, the disabled people, right? Ill people, elderly people, immigrants, undocumented immigrants, minorities. So the idea is how we can isolate them, from the whole society, and then to remove them. I am talking about even the physical removal, because as you can see in the big beautiful budget of Donald Trump, there are elimination of billions and billions of dollars that had been allocated for the healthcare, for the Medicare, for the medical, and so on. So all of them are more and more removed in order to let these people, die out completely out of the configuration of society. So once they can get rid of these minorities, these vulnerable people, they can effectively deal with those who are playing a key role for the economic system, and they are not generating cost. As soon as they become a part of, impediment for the system can organize itself to eliminate them. So for that, they need really a high level of social isolation, right? The people must not be attentive about each other's fate at all anymore. So that's why they are using any possibilities that you can imagine. This is what the famous theory of the people who are talking about the techno-feudalism, right? And they are talking about how the big companies are trying to get control of everything thanks to, devices, data centers, algorithm, and anything else. And they are doing that. The people like Yanis Varoufakis and Cedric Durand and Jody Dean, these are the people who formulated the idea of techno-feudalism versus total capitalism. Of course, they are talking about how the people are trapped in a technical system, a highly technical system that had been set for them. And if they want to have a minimal social life, they have to be a kind of subject to any form of control by the system, right? And this control is exactly the dominant system is looking for, so that they can do whatever they want, to do to the people. But this is interesting because they are thinking that if they can redesign what is the core of society, I am talking about social interactions, if they can redesign the core of society, they can redefine society itself, right? Once we have a new model or new configuration that we call society, but it's not so, is not really the society as we knew that before for thousands of years, but we can get it at face value, right? Because it has been presented to us as such. Then they are able to manipulate this entity as they want, because it's not anymore society in the classic meaning of the term. There is no social resistance, there is no social solidarity, there is no social coherence, there is no social movement, there is no social resistance, anything, so they can do whatever they want. I think the best example of what is going to happen to almost all the Western societies is what has been happening in Israeli society for a while. If you see the case of the Israeli society, you can see that it's a brainwashed society. It's a brainwashed people, it's a brainwashed nation that's able to, work with the government for all the crimes and genocide that has been being committed, in Gaza for 2 years. Society was passive and even complice with what was happening there as a historic crime, collective crime. So, why Israeli society was able to do so? Maybe we couldn't wait for that 10 years ago, 20 years ago in Israel, because it has been subject of a huge campaign of propaganda, and I am talking about the ideological propaganda, but with the complicity of the high tech companies that were able to inject as much as possible the toxic ideas about the Muslims, about the Arabs, about the Palestinians in the Israeli society in such a way that the nation is able to digest almost anything, any crime, any atrocity. So that's a very good model, effectively, for what the system, the Abrahamic capitalism, wants for the whole world and essentially for the Western countries. So that's why you can see that even today, after having committed at least 2 years, I am not talking about the very far past and precedent actions of Netanyahu, just these 2 years, if we take them, you can see that even today, the Israeli society is ready to re-elect a criminal, a worldwide, world-known criminal called Benjamin Netanyahu, again as its prime minister. Look at that. Many analysts are telling us, including the Israeli analyst Ori Goldberg, that Netanyahu will win again. Why? Because society, Israeli society, has been reshaped, reconfigured in such a way that it can easily accept not only the crimes of Netanyahu, but the continuation of these criminal activities. So, as you can see, this is the model that some Zionists are looking for in the United States. And they succeeded first in the first test of that, because we remember how disastrous was the first presidency of Donald Trump, 27 to 2021, and nobody was believing at that time that Americans are able to re-elect that guy again. But the power of manipulation, the power of reconfiguration of the collective mind, is such now by the tech companies. We saw, for example, the key role of Twitter or X for the re-election of Donald Trump in 2024. They are able, to erase completely the collective memory, the short-term memory, and to reset the mind of society, the mind of nation, in such a way that they can have 85 million people voting again for a completely catastrophic and disastrous, man who made the highest level of national debt during 4 years of first presidency. So, as you can see, right now there is a kind of effort for the Zionists to reproduce the Israeli model in the United States. And the similarities are huge, eliminating, for example, the idea of eliminating the most vulnerable parts of population. This is what Israel is doing systematically for years, and essentially in the intensified manner in these two last years, eliminating the Palestinians, the inhabitant of Gaza, then going through the West Bank, doing the same thing. Everyone who is not able to defend themselves can be eliminated. That's the idea of Israel. And they are doing exactly the same here. With the boat strikes, for example, right now, with ICE and the violation of any civil or social or human rights for the immigrants, for the minorities. So this is it. This is the idea of the reproduction of the Israeli model in the United States in such a way that they can create a universal model. And this model is based on the main idea of our discussion, getting social interactions out of society. The core of society is somehow dissipated, vanished, removed. Social interactions became a unilateral interactions where the system can manipulate, can channel, can push the people toward this or that point of view. So this is what is going to happen. And I published, I remember, in 2024, an article called "The Necessary De-Israelization of the United States." That was the idea. I knew that the fact that Israel is trying, to dragging lag in Gaza for 2 years, killing, destroying everything. It was not for any military option. It was for something bigger than that. It was for establishing effectively a model, because all the Western countries were somehow and to some extent involved in that. And Israel wanted to, make something acceptable, ordinary. The fact that we commit crime, we commit genocide, and you, the Western countries, you are with us. You are complice with us. You are working with us, and there is no problem. And through that, as you can see, now we have the sociological reality of the Gaza genocide. It was not only a matter of Palestinians and erasing them from Gaza. It was the idea of how we can establish a new model, a new model of governance, a new model of controlling society. And this is what they have been doing. And I think there is a huge possibility to transform the United States into an exact copy of the Israeli society, which means that we can expect that there would be the same disastrous situation that we have right now in Israel in the United States. In Israel right now, there is no political opposition. There is no alternative. There is no separation of powers. There is no check and balances. There is only and only the terrorizing atmosphere, established by the Zionists, by the extreme right government of Netanyahu over the whole country. And I think those who are the Zionist elements, the Israeli elements that infiltrated the Trump administration, they are doing the same thing in the United States through all these actions that I named a few examples, like the behavior of police, the behavior of law enforcement, of ICE, and also the army with the boat strikes, for example, right now. So all of these are giving a very idea. If we want to draw a conclusion, I can say that the democracy, as we know, is seriously at peril, at risk, right? And we can see that if those who are in control of the system can really make this, let's formulate that, desocialization of society, Imagine that society become an empty shell, just form, just shape, just a word, but you don't have any more the essence of society. You don't have any more what makes society, historically, which was the human relationships, which was the social interactions, the interactions between the people. You don't have that anymore in in the long term. So that's why we must be aware about one serious risk, which is if they can really desocialize society, they can dehumanize the civilization. And they are working on that. Why? Because if such a thing comes to happen, they will be the tiny minority who will control the whole majority, the whole population as they want. And this is the most dangerous and the most disastrous configuration that we can imagine for what is going on in this planet. I am talking just a little minority with the vicious intention, with the nasty intentions, and capable to control the whole, the billions of people under their control. So if it happens, I have to say that it would be the end of human civilization. I don't know, we can call that something else, another form of civilization, or maybe even some other words. I don't know, technocracy, or as they say, techno-feudalism, or total Abrahamic capitalism, something like that. But it won't be any more any trace of human, and humanity in that, I don't know, whatever entity that they can create. So that's why we must be aware about that. And I think social resistance is the only tool that we have. We must not really rely on the usual procedural mechanism of democracy, like elections and so on. It doesn't mean anything anymore because they are completely manipulated. We see that in the United States. We saw that before, and we will see that in Israel for next election. So elections are only and only the tools in the hands of this minority to do whatever they want. So that's why I recommend to work on social resistance, on social power. And that's why, based on many experience, and including our experience in the countries like Iran, if you want, to hope that something else than the social power can come and address your issue, you are going to be disappointed. The only support that we can have for ourselves before being completely isolated, manipulated, and separated is social power and social solidarity. This is the idea that I repeat each time, to believe that social power is the most powerful power, the strongest power, the utmost power. So that's why we have to fortify, enforce, and strengthen social power in such a way that we can organize ourselves to defend what? To defend society with the core of that, the human core of that, social interactions, human interactions. Defend society so that we can remain human beings, so that we can avoid becoming the slaves of the Abrahamic capitalist technocracy. So that's the idea, and we have to organize ourselves, and we should know that this is a part of the history, but this is one of the most important one of the most episode of the human history. That's why we must be attentive. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please share your opinion with me, comment and subscribe so that we can be in touch, and we are going to talk more about all of this. Thank you.